The American Revolution was the war that started off the what were the United Colonies. The famous Battle of Lexington and Concord started the war. That battle showed the British that the Americans were not pushovers. This battle featured well-known quotes such as those said by Paul Revere. The famous and first battle happened when the British tried to march across the bridge, that interestingly enough was heavily bent, and then helped the colonists, as when the British marched over, the Americans could mow them down. The battle set the stage for the Battle of Bunker Hill. The next major battle is the Battle of Bunker Hill. The Battle of Bunker Hill was actually fought on Breed's Hill. Interestingly enough, Breed's Hill is much closer to Boston than Bunker Hill, yet the battle was planned to be on Bunker Hill. The British Army was led by General William Howe. General William Howe was born on August 10, 1729. The general had sympathy for the colonists, but he had to fight the colonists. And joining General William Howe was Lieutenant General Thomas Gage. The lieutenant was born in England in the year 1719. The lieutenant was worried about being defeated, so he requested a reinforcement of 4,500 soldiers. He and General Howe were able to lead their men to victory. It was at the cost of thousands of soldiers' lives. On the other side of the hill was the Continental Army. Leading the Continental Army was Major General Israel Putnam. He was born in 1738 in a state which led the colonies to start the war, Massachusetts. Major General Israel Putnam was joined by Major Colonel William Prescott. Major Colonel William Prescott got the order to just simply hold the hill and not giving it up too easily. Colonel William Prescott was severely undersupplied, and therefore he gave the same orders to the soldiers. He said, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." In the morning, the American Continental Army started to set up their camp and fort at Bunker Hill, but after a while, both the generals and their engineer talked, and they decided Breed's Hill was closer and had a better advantage for them.
In my opinion, the decision from the Colonel Generals to move their fort to Breed's Hill was a terrible idea, as it gave the British the ability to consistently bomb the colonial soldiers. Not only did it cause immediate deaths and wounds, the next and deeper problem was how unorganized it made the colonial soldiers and their generals to be. This chaos is what I believe to be the underlying reason why the Colonial Army lost the battle. Many experts might say it's because of the British organizational skills and their hand-to-hand combat abilities. But the question should be, how did the British get into those positions? And I believe it is because of the constant shelling that the British ships were able to put on the land.
But after a while, the American generals realized that they made a big mistake. As the battle was getting ready to start in a day or so, they realized how easily they could be flanked and beat. Their answer was to get reinforcements to cover the left side out to the Mystic River. This is a good move, as the British original plan was to outflank the Continental Army and win the battle. As I mentioned how the battle was on Breed's Hill, not Bunker Hill, which made the battle closer to Boston, and therefore closer to the British ships. The British could not outflank the Americans, and the result was to using the ship's fire. This disorganized Colonel Putnam and the British troops. As we all know about holding fire, the result of that, the Americans were able to give British devastating blows, as they were very close and unmissable. The British only option was to fall back and try again, but the result was the same. The British noticed General Putnam's lack of organization with his men, and he was focused on the left side. He was still able to fire away at the British when they were trying to advance to the left side. But he was able to kill John Pitcairn, a general from Lexington and Concord, in this battle. After a while of fighting, the battle turned into a hand-to-hand combat. This came shortly after John Pitcairn was killed. The ships in the battle heavily favored the British, as they had bayonets on the end of their muskets and were heavily trained, while the American soldiers were not trained nearly as good as the British. After a while, the British started to control the battle and take over and command it. It inevitably created a retreat from the Americans. While most were retreating, Generals Stark and Knowlton commanded an orderly retreat, and that gave time for the others to retreat. General Putnam tried to recommend his troops to hold Bunker Hill, but that, like Breed's Hill, failed too. By 5 o'clock p.m., the fighting had stopped, and the British had what they came for. The aftermath of the battle was pretty severe for mainly the British. While for the Americans, 150 were killed, 305 were wounded, and 30 were captured. While the British had an astounding number of 226 killed and 828 wounded, which totaled up to 1,054. Like I said, an astounding number. Though it was a victory for the Redcoats, it did not change the strategy about Boston. Rather, all it did was scare and startle London. This high number of casualties resulted in Gage's dismissal, and Howard constantly haunted by his mistakes and golden desires Two market victories would have certainly put an end to the British dominion in America. This battle was much more than just a winning battle for the British. It showed to the British that the Continental Army was much prepared and ready to tangle with the Red Coast, while it each step of the dance. On the flip side, the Americans nearly celebrating a loss, but it showed back home that they can be prepared. Because everyone from the generals to the young boys in their homes, confident that the British are not the bigger force, but their resilience and that they can win the war.